Call this meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I speak on behalf of the board and on behalf of the residents in town to acknowledge the passing of Linda Gadori. Linda was a longtime public safety dispatcher. Worked at the old town hall, transitioned over to here. And back in the day when it was what it was, she was an integral part of training, helping new officers adapt to the job, working with senior staff. And I had the opportunity to speak to her family at the wake, and it was a nice turnout of public safety officers. I spoke to Lieutenant Collins, soon to be Chief Collins, and thanked him for the participation of the men in blue. On behalf of the board, we send our sympathies to Linda's family.
Thank you. Well said. Consent agenda. Marcy.
Mr. Chairman, the board enthusiastically votes to approve and issue the citations, commendations, recognition, and awards cited on this agenda, and further moves to approve placement in the personnel record of individual employees advanced at Second.
Second discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Appointments and resignations. Someone like to take it? Chief, board votes to appoint Daniel Brunel as full-time police officer effective January 14th, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, good evening. If you can recall, the board declared a full-time opening to replace my position that I'd be vacating at the end of the week. And we held the internal process, called for candidates on our list as our rules apply. And Dan Brunel is our applicant for the position. We've been worked through by Lieutenant Collins, and he's an excellent candidate. Should do a really good job for the community. As town resident, really good squared away young man. So I think you'll be happy with him. So we just make a recommendation that you would appoint him for his probationary period. He does not need to attend the police academy. He finished his training through both the part-time academy, and he attended the bridge training program, and he also completed all his necessary hours of service, so he meets all the qualifications and standards with the state of Massachusetts, the Post Commission. So that's a bonus too, where he won't have to be away at training for 6 months, like a lot of other candidates might have to. So that's a bonus for it there. But so he would have his 1 year probationary period in effect until January 14th of 2024.
Excellent. Thanks, Chief. It's the board's pleasure. Mr. Marcy.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Daniel Brunel as a full-time police patrolman effective January 14, 2023.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Want to come up for a picture?
Stand on the other side this time.
The other.
So it looks a little different. Perfect. Congratulations. Thank you.
Resignation. We have resignation. Steve Wetruba of the planning board. Board's pleasure. Mr. Marcy.
You know, Mr. Chairman, I read this, and I want to say that Steve has been a very valuable member of the planning board, very thoughtful as he considers issues. So when I saw this agenda, I haven't spoken with him yet, but I move that we accept his resignation with regret. from the planning board and request that the planning board act on recommending the appointment of an alternate at the January 11th, 2023 meeting.
Chair, I second that, and I, with the permission of the person who made the motion, have Mr. Ruda compose a letter on our behalf, signed by you. I just want to echo real quick what Mr. Massey said. Planning board is very, very underappreciated board in town. They just went through a real process with the Stevens Mill, with the greatest hits, amongst other things they do. That was two really big projects that they helped shepherd through the process, so he will be missed.
So we have a second discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. New business. Let's have the town clerk swear in Merrick Karlowitz, Chief of Police, effective January 14th, 2023.
Does your family here want to
Excuse me?
Does your family here would like to come up as well?
Any family want to come up?
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you, Merrick Karlowitz, solemnly swear to faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent upon you as the appointed chief of police for the town of Dudley, Massachusetts?
I do.
Do you promise to bear true faith and allegiance to and uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
I do.
Do you promise to uphold the ordinances and bylaws of the town of Dudley, obey and be bound by such rules and regulations as are now or may be established by the town of Dudley and its police department?
I do.
Do you solemnly swear that you will never betray your badge, your integrity, your character, or public trust, always having the courage to hold yourself and others accountable for their actions, so help you God?
I do.
And lastly, do you, Merrick Karlowitz, hereby accept the position of Chief of Police for the town of Dudley, effective Friday, January 13th at noon?
I do.
Congratulations and welcome as Chief of Police to the town of Dudley.
I can't forget the current chief. Leave the best for last.
Well, you're real tall, so how about you?
That's perfect, thank you.
Beautiful, thank you.
Next, new business, town clerk swears in Paige Morose, full-time Dudley Police Patrolman. Paige, you?
Your family would be?
Anyone want to come up for the picture?
Paige, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear to faithfully and impartially perform the duties of your appointed position? Congratulations, welcome to the council.
Chief?
Finally, someone took a watch on us.
What was that? Well, Walter, please. Thank you.
clerk swears in Dan Brunel as full-time Dudley Police Patrolman.
May I just make one comment, Mr. Chairman, if we move on from Paige, just for the public knowledge. She graduated on December 30th from the police academy. She was appointed one of the squad leaders for her academy class, the 4 women in the class. So the colleagues in her class thought enough for her to have her recommended for that position. And she also finished with the highest academic average in the class at 96.75. So it's just another example. Another example of we have a real good core of people, so getting some real good folks for the future, so I just want to pass that on. Thank you.
Once again, town clerk swears in Dan Brunel as full-time Dudley Police Patrolman. Come on up.
Do you solemnly swear to faithfully and impartially perform the duties of your office?
One more.
Now it's official.
See you next time. Oh, yeah, why not?
A little bit premature in the picture.
Let's see how this goes. I'd like to recognize State Senator Ryan Fatman and State Representative Peter Durant to present Senate and House citations. Could the following please come up? Fire Department, Chief Kochanowski. Board of Health, Jen Canoyer. The Police Department, Chief Wayner. Town Hall staff, Michelle Jarvis. The Highway, Jeff Murray. Water and Sewer, George Petrinos.
Yes. Well, that's one way to describe it. Board of Health. You can vote. I don't know, what else do I got for you? Police. And highway. You want highway? No. Michelle, one of these is for you. There we go.
If anyone wants to speak,
All right.
meaning you two.
Well, I think, we've kind of just started coming back, or I feel like it's been a while since we've come back from a pandemic. But things still get back to normal, and it takes quite a while. So I think it's important though tonight that we recognize all those in town that went the extra mile, did the extra work that was necessary during a really uncertain time. When we started this whole thing, which now is about 3 years ago, I think, nobody knew what we had up against us, right? It was a pandemic, it was a scary thing. A lot of people had to jump into action and really risk their own well-being to do the things that needed to be done. And so this is just a very, a simple way for us and myself and Senator Fatman to thank you guys all for what you did out there. It did not go unnoticed, and it was important work, and we just want to say thank you to all of you. I'll turn it over to Senator Jan.
So my favorite Christmas present from my wife this year was the Town of Dudley motto, "All was others, all will be others," on a placard that hangs in my office. And that sounds like a bunch of baloney, so I have a picture of it just in case anyone questions me on it. But the reason why, I don't know a motto from any of the towns that I represent except for the Town of Dudley, because I saw that and it almost brought me to tears, and I saw it in the beginning of the pandemic in March of 2020. And I thought to myself, wow, very telling for the times. But more importantly, you know what it means and the selfless sacrifice, and our time here on this earth is short. And what one has today will be gone tomorrow, and it will be someone else's. And so how we spend our time, especially in the last 2 years, I think has been accentuated in all of our lives. It's incredibly precious. And we've learned that sort of the hard way. But behind all of that in our society are people who are willing to make sacrifices for the public. And that's what we honor here today. We're so grateful for all the work that you put in and the people you had to deal with and the situations that may not, especially in the beginning, have felt like the most safe. You know, you go to a house, and walk into that house, someone's sick, and you don't know if you're gonna be sick and what the consequences are for you, your family. And that is incredibly heart-wrenching. So we are really grateful for your service. That's why we are providing those citations, and wanted to thank the town as well, the Board of Selectmen, the town administrator, for honoring you all for what you've done over the last 2 years. It's been difficult on all of us. Last thing I'd like to say is to our police department and our new officers. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for going to the academy. Thank you for wanting to make this part of your profession. We need you now more than ever. We're proud of you. You put your lives on the line every single day. And it's something that unfortunately got lost for whatever reason over the last 2 years. But you've had a wonderful leader. You'll have another great leader in just a few days. And we really appreciate the sacrifice that you make. When it doesn't feel like maybe everybody has your back, please know when it comes to Boston, Beacon Hill, Peter and I have your back. And to the families, thank you for your sacrifice as well. It is greatly appreciated, and we will keep your loved ones in our prayers every single day. And we appreciate what they do. So thank you.
Thank you all. I got a picture. Chief and Chief, is there for a second? Okay, next, Chief Dean Kojanowski wants to present unit citations and uniform bars to fire EMS. Selectman Sullivan is going to give you a unit citation bar. Chief?
Hold on, getting my spot here. Which one are we doing first?
You can start the unit citations, your staff.
So, for the fire department's exemplary performance in responding to and helping the citizens of Dudley during the COVID-19 pandemic, all department membership are recognized for their swift and professional response during this pandemic and putting others' safety in front of their own. The selfless acts of the department membership and dedication during this crisis have earned the fire department the undying gratitude and appreciation of the citizens of Dudley. So whoever's here from the department, if you want to come forward. Thanks.
One more. Sorry, George.
Chief, can we get a photo with your guys?
Thanks, Chief.
I'd just like to say a few words on my own. This was a especially trying time, especially in the beginning. The gentlemen that are behind me reminded me of an incident early on in the pandemic. They responded to a cardiac arrest, and of course, early on, nobody knew what the virus was about, how it affected people, and ultimately, my people ended up getting sent home, the whole entire crew. So it was a little bit of a trying time. I thought I was gonna actually have to close the fire station, but fortunately, we were able to get a relief crew in, and I'd just like to thank those gentlemen for going above and beyond, and the whole department throughout the whole pandemic. So, thank you.
On behalf of Chairman Johnson and the Board of Selectmen, I would like to proudly present this unit citation to Fire Chief EMS Director Dean Kochanowski. As he stated, it was a crazy time. Everybody stepped up and did above and beyond, and it's well deserved and well honored.
Thank you.
Chief Weiner.
Citation form? I was looking at the citation itself, but the actual finding that was there.
So we're gonna recognize Chief Steve Weiner to present you with citations and uniform bars to the police officers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our citation that I believe is still up there, so we'll go off the same language that the fire department had. As was stated, this was one of those situations where it was very difficult and very uncertain with everything that was happening at that time. If everybody can remember, none of the information was really, I guess, fully accurate at the time, because nobody really knew. Nobody knew what was gonna happen. But our people didn't have the chance of working from home. When everybody else shut down and went home, we had to still be in. And the one thing you had too was, now that you have everybody home, those occasions where we always had the community kind of clear out because people were at work or at school or wherever they're at, now everybody's home. And so we did have increases in situations where there was substance abuse problems, domestic issues, other things like that that just go along simply with the regular everyday life and the positions that we do. So our people really went above and beyond to go out, do the job every day. Very little complaining out of everybody too. You know, it was a real team atmosphere for the entire time. So we continued our operations, we responded to emergency, non-emergency events. We exercised precautions whenever we could or we had to. But I really extend my thanks to the men and women of the department for their continued dedicated service to the town. Don't forget too, they had challenges not only at work, but you had challenges both at home. And then on top of that, you throw in the fact that we had to deal with protests and riots and anti-police sentiments that were taking place too, as this whole thing was going on. And I'm glad, and I don't know if he's still here or not, but Senator Fatman and Rep. Durant really were two people that stood up behind us at the State House, when a lot of people did not. And it's certainly noted with me who was with us and who was against us. And that added to more of the pressure too of the position. But again, professionals, they went forward, did what they had to do. Very, very proud of the men and women of the department. And you know, I truly can't thank them enough for everything that was there. Certainly I try to do my part, but you're only as good as a leader as the people that are under you. And I got a really good crew there. And I'm really honored and privileged to have overseen them during that difficult time, and really thank them for everything. So we have unit bars and citations to get to all of them at this time. I think we have in-house with us here, we'll just go down the list, for the folks that worked during the time. Sergeant Jimenez, Officer Dave Carpenter, Officer Jim Master Giovanni, Officer Phil Megas, Ryan Daniels, Tyler Smith, Keith Remillard, Sergeant Dean Poplowski, Paige Morrows, Chandler Boyd, Mariano Conti, Arthur Ferrera, and Louis Pacheco. Well, I didn't miss anybody, right? And you just started, so that's why it's going to be this. Don't run away, let's take a picture, please.
And Chief, we also have Selectmen Jan giving the citation to you.
On behalf of Chairman Johnson, the Board of Selectmen, and a grateful town, COVID-19 service.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Just gonna throw an example out like the fire chief did. Right at the beginning, one of our guys, a couple of our guys went to a call where they had to go hands-on with somebody who ended up having, was positive for COVID. Those 3 officers had to go back to the station, basically gather their belongings, and they went to isolation to a hotel for the next 3-4 days. And that's what we faced with at the beginning. So it's not just a toll on these guys, it was a toll on the families, and every day they showed up for work. So we give them a lot of credit for that.
Gentlemen, please. That's perfect. One more, please. Thank you.
Former Lieutenant Carlos, recognize Laura Milosh, please.
I don't see Lauren here, but she, when the pandemic started, she was with us every day. She showed up for work every day, dealing with all the admin stuff that she does. And on top of that, we had more foot traffic to the front lobby because the front hall was closed. She would go downstairs and help the general public with a lot of the issues that they had with the town hall, whether it was dropping off bills, dropping off applications. So I figured, and she figured that it was a good mention to have her mentioned and get a public service citation from the town for her dedication during the COVID pandemic. Unfortunately, she's not here, but I will make sure that she gets this tomorrow morning from the Board of Selectmen. Thank you.
Next, on behalf of the board, we've passed Chairman Sullivan and Sinevich presenting Chief Kochanowski with a commendation citation letter and uniform bar for his honorable leadership and faithful service with the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah. Chief,
Actually, Chairman Johnson, on behalf of Chairman Sullivan, as Chairman Sullivan, as Chairman Jan. The 2 chairs.
Thank you very much for all the hard work. The times were unprecedented. We've heard it 3 or 4 times now. But the work that everyone in this room has done in this time, it's Chief, your team. Thank you very much. What's that? Yep. We do, Chief, could you please present Deputy Chief Paul Conlon with the commendation uniform prize?
Presented to Deputy Chief Paul Konechny for your exemplary service, performance in managing fire department operations and subsequent handling of the FEMA reimbursement process during the COVID-19 pandemic. Your outstanding leadership and dedication during this crisis have earned you the undying gratitude and appreciation of the citizens of Dudley. And I'd just like to say a little more about that. If I had known what the FEMA reimbursement process would have entailed, and we had 3 of them, I would have just done it myself. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. I greatly appreciate all the hard work that Paul put into this. It was just an awful process, and we were able to get a decent amount of money back through the FEMA reimbursement process, and thank you, Paul, for doing that for us.
On behalf of the board and past Chairman Sullivan Signevich, we want to present Chief Steve Wayner with commendation citation letter and uniform bar for his honorable leadership and faithful service through the COVID-19 pandemic. While I'm up here, the letter for both chiefs is pretty similar. I'll read this in this very awkward spot.
Maybe at the podium, Mr. Chairman.
Podium. On March 10th, 2020, in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, Governor Baker issued a proclamation declaring a state of emergency in the Commonwealth. This order preceded a series of orders that required the shutdown of schools and businesses, government offices, and modified elections throughout the state, and consequently the town of Dudley. Preceding the state of emergency in the Commonwealth, civil unrest was pervasive throughout the United States, particularly civil protests, unrest, ongoing threats towards police officers. Chief Wayner served as the Dudley Police Chief throughout this period and upheld the key tenets of our Constitution by leading his department to keep local protesters safe while they exercise the right to peaceful protest. Under the leadership of Chief Wayner, the Dudley Police Department kept our community safe by maintaining patrols and reassuring police presence throughout the pandemic, and by maintaining a sense of morale and purpose when stay-at-home orders, business closures, and political division added to and placed a serious level of stress on both the community and law enforcement officers. As a direct result of your experience, temperament, and leadership abilities, the men and women of the town of Dudley Police Department continue to serve and protect our community without interruption and without operational crisis. This was an unprecedented time in our country's history where a global pandemic had been declared and the contagion level was unknown. The mortality rate was expected to be high and a vaccine did not yet exist. Your department experienced positive cases, quarantine, and hospitalization of other officers. Throughout this adversity, as a testament to your leadership ability and a sense of community commitment that you have instilled in your department, you motivated your department to perform admirably and honorably. Your professionalism and actions are in the highest tradition of the town of Dudley and credit to its police department. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Want to stand up? On March 10th, 2020, in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, Governor Baker issued a proclamation declaring a state of emergency in the Commonwealth. This order preceded a series of orders required to shut down schools and businesses, government offices, and modified elections throughout the state, and consequently the town of Dudley. Chief Kochanowski served as the Dudley Fire Chief throughout this period and worked cooperatively and effectively with the Dudley Board of Health, Dudley Building Inspector, state and federal emergency management departments, and the Department of Health. His actions to motivate a consistent and professional emergency medical response by his department throughout this period, and to provide emergency management expertise in his capacity as Dudley Emergency Management Director, resulted in the effective response by his department to the benefit of the community and the safety of his staff. As a direct result of your experience, temperament, and leadership abilities, the men and women of the town of Dudley Fire Department were able to continue to respond to calls for service throughout the community. And through your cooperative effort with the Dudley Board of Health and your leadership as Emergency Management Director, the town of Dudley was ahead of neighboring communities and able to deliver the vaccine locally to residents and emergency staff, which undoubtedly saved lives and kept public safety services operational at the height of the pandemic. Throughout this adversity, as a testament to your leadership ability and sense of community commitment that you've instilled in the department, you motivated your department to perform admirably and honorably. Your professionalism and actions are in the highest tradition of the town of Dudley and credit to its fire department. Thank you. Thank you. Community Service Award. I'd like to recognize Selectman Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we do the Community Service Award, I'd like to have Highway Superintendent Jeff Murray step up on behalf of Peter Durant, who had to leave, and a House Representative proclamation for you and your department for the work you guys did during the pandemic.
On the table.
Oh, right here.
Right here.
Front, oh, that's Ryan's, sorry. Thank you to my board members. On behalf of Senator Fatman, who had to leave also, to Jeff Murray and his department for the work they did during the pandemic. Jeff. Again, on behalf of Chairman Johnson and the board and a grateful community, I would ask Roberta Johnson, Master of Science Nursing, nurse practitioner, public health nurse, please come forward, receive an award. As everybody said, it was unprecedented times, in terms of like contact tracing, personal space, and everything that was new to us. Roberta stepped into a really tough role. We had a public health nurse covering 11 communities, and that co-op was not going to work for us. We can't repay Roberta for the time and the effort, her working with the Board of Health, with her staff and with her co-board members. The things Roberta did was simply amazing. Honored to call her my friend, but more honored as a selectman to give her a well-deserved award. Definitely deserved.
Service citations from the board. I'd like to recognize Selectman Signevich. We're going to call, you going to call the members?
You may.
All right.
You've got the microphone.
We'd like to call the members of the Board of Health, Jen Canorian, Lloyd Ducharme, and Roberta Johnson to come forward, please.
Wherever you want to go, this side, that side.
This side?
Yeah, I'm wrong. In the early stages of the pandemic, there was the job of 3 volunteer, and I stress volunteer,
Women.
Women, we'll go with women, it's not my notes, but we'll go with that. It was the job of 3 volunteer women elected Board of Health officials to guide the town through the executive orders, state mandates that included closures of private businesses and public offices, potential postponement of elections, mail-in voting, outdoor dining, sanitation, public gatherings, managing COVID programs with a college, a regional high school, and 3 Dudley public schools, several private schools, multiple religious institutions, and contact tracing, and eventually testing and vaccinations. No small task for these 3 elected volunteer officials to maintain local policy oversight and do it as professionally and as well, and in many cases better than larger cities and towns with larger full-time public health staff. For all the reasons mentioned, it is with great pleasure that the Board of Selectmen presents, on behalf of a grateful town, 3 public service citations in honor and with deep appreciation of devoted, unselfish service to the community through the global pandemic. Want to go this
Yeah,
way?
that'd be great.
Desire? I wanted to make sure I got the right one, I didn't want to give you one for someone else. Do you need a picture?
Okay, I'd like to call the town hall staff. Michelle Gervais, Nelson Burlingame, Amanda Jacobson, and it's like several people couldn't attend. Mr. Sullivan, could you announce and present the citations to town hall staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, on behalf of Chairman Johnson and the board, and a grateful community at large, just a couple quick points. As everyone stated tonight, it was unprecedented times. Town hall was shut. How does the town conduct their business? With everybody being locked out, locked in at their own home, stay-at-home directives, design a remote model from scratch. I mean, people talk now about Zoom meetings and remote learning, remote access, like it was an everyday occurrence, but it was unheard of up until COVID. No VPNs, no laptops, no remote phone access. Everything was seat of the pants, by the fly. We had town hall and other staff furloughed. We had people that stayed behind, picked up the slack, did above and beyond, well outside the scope of their job to keep the town running and business at hand. I was chairman at the time when the pandemic started, and you can say with 100% sincerity, I'm glad my term ended soon after that. On behalf of the town and myself, I want to thank Kerry Siganevich, who took over as chairman after me, Jay Johnson, who's picked up the baton, John Massey. We have a great board. We appreciate everything everybody did. You know, lack of technology did not stop you folks, reduction in staff, as we said. And throughout the whole pandemic, many varying forms, but always open for business. Just as a quick aside, in the middle of the pandemic, I had a local business owner reach out to me. I was down the Cape, and they wanted to find out how to get reclassified as a restaurant, working with the Board of Health, obviously. And they came to the town hall, and Dudley was so far ahead of the other towns with the model. They could come in almost like a one-stop shopping, meet with Nelson, Board of Health, Michelle for licensing, the treasurer collector's office. We could go on and on. We were the first town with vaccines. We had refrigerators before we had vaccines. We had vaccines before towns had refrigerators. So again, on behalf of a grateful board and a town, I want to give us some citations. First, Michelle, who, as we all know, makes the town run. Thank you. Amanda done a great job in several different roles in town. She does a great job, and everybody loves coming to see Amanda. My friend Nelson Burlingame, who may be on paper a part-time building inspector, but as everyone knows, Nelson is available 24/7, 365. Guy does a wonderful job in the town, true gentleman. We wouldn't be where we are without him. Also, my friend, thank you for everything you've done. They have one more, I don't know if the person's present, so. Oh, yes, is Jackie here?
We've got We're gonna do, town clerk's office next.
Again, Jackie's down at the town clerk's office. Wonderful person, she's here all the time. Another one that's here well beyond her scheduled hours. If you call the clerk's office, you don't get Lori, you're always getting Jackie. And when Lori's not around, Jackie fills in and the office doesn't miss a beat. And again, on behalf of the grateful board, we thank Jackie for everything she has done and continues to do. So that concludes me for tonight, so I'll see you guys next week.
So now I'd like to call Lori Smith and Jack Phelps from the town clerk's office. Steve Rogerson and Pam Young from the Veteran Service Office. And Chris Starchevsky from the town moderator to come up to the podium. Selectman Landry will announce who's in the citations.
Good evening. I'd like to open up by going back a little bit, remembering when Lori was running. I was at the podium over there asking her questions about the election challenges coming up and how she would handle them. I think her actions speak louder than words. She handled them very, very well. One of the biggest challenges of any election official that they could face is getting up to speed when newly elected. She did it. I'm familiar with that challenge. I'm still trying to do it. The town clerk's office, with a staff of 2, led by Lori Smith, who was newly elected in 2019, not only had to become familiar with running a regular elections, but had to face the challenges presented by COVID. Imagine being newly elected and having to organize paper nomination forms under a COVID-19 lockdown. Think of the challenges that the town clerk's office of 2 people face trying to deal with the potential reduction in quorums for town meetings, the possibility of election postponements, social distancing and town meetings, mail-in voting, absentee voting, and walk-in voting that lasts a month, compared to what it used to be. The requirement to add a 4th precinct and contactless vital records and licensing distribution that in most cases require people to appear in person. It's a lot to take in, and she did it. Now, when we go over to the town moderator, imagine the town moderator having to hope not to simply moderate the meeting, but to have to deal with the new technology that eliminated the vote by voice and relied on remote controls instead. And being responsible for social distancing requirements, masking, and capacity limits, not once, but several times throughout the pandemic. You made it happen. Now, consider being in the potentially impossible position of Lori or Chris or Jackie, and potentially having to ask town meeting voters to leave because the auditorium was at capacity. That's something to think about when you look at who shows up to vote. Finally, I'd like to recognize Steve Rogerson and Pam Young, who are able to continue to deliver key services, adopting a model of making house calls when the mission required it, and keeping in close communication with our veterans to ensure that our veterans' needs, often magnified by the pandemic, were being met. You all made it happen, and on behalf of Chairman Johnson and the Board of Selectmen and a grateful town, we're all very, very proud of all of you. I'd like to present the citations. Lori? Thank you very much. Chris? Steve? Ross? As always, you succeed. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call the Highway Superintendent, Water water sewer superintendent, library director, and treasurer collector staff come to the podium. Selectman Marcy will announce and present this resolution.
Notes. All right. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving the opportunity to participate in such an amazing community gathering that we have tonight. If you remember back during the pandemic, which was, something that most towns, cities had to deal with. And we had some very extreme budget problems that happened to us right away. And for the first time in a very, very long time, the town of Dudley had to make some really tough decisions on to furlough and sometimes lay off some staff. So we had some, to make sure we had significant revenue to fund our vital services that we had to maintain. So you're looking at some of the teams that do that day in and day out, and during that time, still made themselves available to be on Zoom meetings to talk about things like PFAS at the beginning, the recycling center, when we were talking about that. And they had only core skeleton crews that remain to do these basic services, and then all these new things that we continue to move the ball forward on. So they also had to do public outreach, building and facility sanitation, maintenance, landscaping duties, and also keep our water sewer infrastructure functioning while the rest of the world was in lockdown. So, but part of those challenges, as others have said, these road crews, water sewer crews had to socially distance themselves, wear masks, and then still function as a crew to get the work done. In the library, they became an arm of the Board of Health as well. They had to reach out to local businesses and nonprofits on a regular basis to make sure that those businesses remain able to operate by offering any assistance required from the town to continue with their vital missions. I also want to call out the Council on Aging. They kept in constant contact and performed public outreach with the elderly community, one of our very important community to provide them with the support that they needed. As well as the Treasurer Collector's Office. They kept the revenue stream flowing by handling the bills and interacting with the public, being the outdoor kiosk that the town provided, to innovate to make sure that the residents had access to pay their bills and ask questions. So having said all that, on behalf of Chairman Johnson, entire board and a grateful town, I'd like to present the Highway Department, Water Sewer Department, the Library, Council on Aging, and the Treasurer Collector's Office with these citations. George, Sewer. Anybody from the Treasurer Collector? All right, thank you all.
I think we have one follow-up discussion, Jim Wainer.
Usually when you call up here, it's not a good thing, but I just wanted to say, first of all, this is my last meeting that I'll be at. I really miss coming here on Monday nights. Kind of like when I had my gums scraped. I'm sure it's really going to be different of it. But really, it's. I just want to thank again the town, the board, all the past board members. I think I've been through 4 or 5 administrators and 20 board members and things over the years. I don't know how many folks from the town hall staff, town offices. Really can't just. I don't want to miss anybody, so I really can't. Don't want to miss any of those folks along the way. But members of the department, everything. Like I said, I mean, you're only as good leading as the people that are under you. And I've been really fortunate to have a great crew over the years. They've really been there to help me out with anything. Done the things I've asked them to do, and really have done a good job. And the department has a real good reputation with the other departments and other members of the community and things. So it's something they should really be proud of, and I'm definitely proud and thankful of that. My wife Christine is here, and my son Joe, and my daughter Amber. I couldn't do any of these things without the support of my family. And certainly it's 20 years as chief has been quite some time for sure, 34 years overall with the department too, so there's a lot of times in there that they sacrifice a lot of things for my career and things that I went through, so I really appreciate everything they've done. The department's in good hands with Merrick coming in. Yeah, I think you're gonna be very impressed. He's a very sharp guy, solid officer, good family man. He's gonna do very, very well with everything here, so it's good. My task coming in is, I think I probably said it back at the beginning, I'm really only keeping the seat warm. That's kind of what we're all doing in these positions. We're just kind of making sure that the ship runs good, make some changes where we can, and our challenge is just to leave it a little bit better than we found it. And I hope that's something that I've done over the years. But really been quite a ride, and I'm just really looking forward to the new challenges that are facing there. But I just really wanted to make sure I took a minute just to say thank you to all of you, to all the people that are watching, everybody else that's out there, all the folks in the schools, and again, everybody out there. It's really been tremendous. I've had a lot of support, made my job a lot easier. So I just want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you around.
Put a big guy in the back.
My son Joey's probably going up with
Yeah.
Got a spot right there for you.
Aw, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't wanna get in between them.
There you are. There you are. Gotcha. Gotcha all. It's perfect. Just one more, please. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. So before we accept a motion to adjourn, on behalf of you and the board, I think it needs to be mentioned because the person was not mentioned tonight, that this unprecedented time of pandemic and learning curve, and what are we gonna do? We recognize everybody that did what they could above and beyond. And I just want to, on behalf of the board, recognize this gentleman to my left. He did not want to be recognized tonight, and that's why he's not in this, because he did not want to be recognized. I can't let it slide. Jonathan took over as a new TA. He had plenty of experience outside of TA. He worked on the board with us. Jonathan had to learn everything from the fly, just like the rest of everybody. And being in charge, you got to learn and learn for other people. We always said, you look outside, you see that car, that white truck here all the time. Jonathan was here all the time. People were Zooming, people were remote. Jonathan was here. People had a question, Jonathan was here. Residents were calling up if the department was closed, it was forwarded to Jonathan. Jonathan was here. I can say from the bottom of my heart, with 100% sincerity, we would not have been well off as we were coming out the other side without Jonathan's leadership, Jonathan's direction, and Jonathan's drive to be excellent for the town of Dudley. Myself, I thank Jonathan for everything he's done and continues to do on a daily basis.
Yeah, you weren't gonna say it, I was going to, I was ready for that one. A lot of the stuff that happens on a day-to-day basis, you know, coming up with funding, all the ARPA stuff, all the things that everybody had to learn, Jonathan had to do it. And we still moved the ball forward on a lot of things. We had to figure out what to do with the recycling center. We had to figure out how to get ahead of the curve with PFAS. We had to do all those things. Apply for grants, he was there and still did it, right, as a new town administrator. So I can't say this enough. Thank you, Stephen, for starting that off. But Jonathan, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well said. End of our meeting's a little shortened, so we don't have,
I'll let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
Well, I want to start off by saying Happy New Year to everyone. I hope everyone had a healthy and happy holiday season. We're presenting our civics projects, the one I've been informing you about. My personal one is on tenure next week on Tuesday morning. That's when we're presenting them. So the research we found is that most students are against tenure and don't believe that teachers who have seniority can have privilege over those who are more qualified, no matter how long they've been teaching. So that's very interesting to discover. Midterms are starting this Friday at Shepherd Hill, which is nerve-wracking because this is the first midterm I'm taking due to COVID. But I think I'll be okay. So yeah, I hope everyone had a healthy and happy holiday season. I want to wish a belated birthday to you, as I know it was 6 days ago. So thank you.
What day, turn 16?
I don't know, you did it twice.
You got one coming up next month?
With that, I think
Happy
we are
birthday.
looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I move that we adjourn.
Second discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you
Thank you,
all.
everybody.